Hello, my name is Delilah Cordova, visibility creator here at Omnipresence Studios. We expose the world to our interviewees' unique products, services, and books, and we also help in their journey to go from undiscoverable to visible in a digital world. I am currently on a mission to conduct 100 author interviews, and we're talking about all things books, from publishing to new authors, and don't forget, marketing. I would like to welcome you to our show, Marketing and Coffee, where authors come to get inspired and experience. Hey authors, you finished your manuscript. What do you do next? If you would like to learn more about being featured on my show, go to marketingandcoffee.com. And without further ado, meet our next awesome author. Hey everybody, it's Delilah Cordova here, and I am here again for another awesome author interview. And today I have with me James Peters. And
Hi there. Hi there. Great to be here.
Yes. And James Peters is one of my 100 authors. I'm attempting to interview 100 authors, as everybody knows. But if you're interested in being on my show or coming on live with me for your first time if you're new, then I am here for you. And make sure that you just contact me on my Delilah Cordova page, or this page that you're watching this Facebook Live on. And I'll be more than happy to get your feet wet and get you into an interview and then promote the mess out of you. So yeah, all right. So James Peters today, he has a book called Black Swan Planet, and he is and he is a comedy author. So I'm gonna let him go ahead and let it go ahead and take it away.
Okay.
James.
Well, I'm going to do my 5-minute pitch of what Black Swan Planet is and why there's this handsome-looking monkey on the cover of it. That's Marco. Black Swan Planet takes place in a galactic empire. There's a galactic empire that's out there. There are 27 planets in this empire, and they're way more advanced than we are. Our hero is actually kind of a hapless hero. He's kind of a awkward hero. His name is Raka Varoule. Raka is an investigative reporter, and he's making his way through the empire, kind of exposing minor scandals. But his big break comes when he weasels his way onto the Emperor's own star cruiser. When he gets there, he broadcasts live how the Emperor is celebrating his birthday, his 40th birthday. This broadcast goes out across the galaxy, like I said, live, and it's not a PG-rated event. It's actually quite, the eyes. It's quite an X-rated event. Drugs and paraphernalia and all kinds of stuff, and it's out there. The Emperor himself is laying naked on a bed of cocaine, and he's being whipped by a dominatrix in a leather or a rubber suit. So yeah, that's just an image of what's happening there. Well, Raka is suddenly a very wanted man. The Emperor doesn't like this and is getting ready to kill him, but he escapes with the help of the dominatrix, the help of a drug runner who's a Rastafarian drug runner, and a chimpanzee who wears assless chaps. So they escape. They steal the Emperor's own private shuttle, and they escape, trying to find a safe place away from the Empire. And they explore the old rumors that are in the galaxy or in the Empire that there are barbarian worlds out there that the Empire has no control over. And they're going to escape to one of those worlds, and they do make it to one, and some of the people from that barbarian world call it Earth. So Raka and his companions get separated as they have a very rough landing on Earth. They get separated. He assumes the rest of the crew is dead, and he lands in 1950s West Virginia.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Real country.
Yeah, rural country, yeah. So things get weird from there. Okay, after he gets on Earth, then things go weird. He has to figure out what's going on. He makes his way on Earth, and eventually he has to back up with the other people on the ship that came with him, and resolve the issue that the Empire is going to come for Earth, and most likely destroy it if they find out that Raka's been here and has been protecting him. So that's the general 5-minute synopsis of Black Swan Planet. It's funny. Like I said, it's humorous. It's a little bit adult humor. If you're offended by assless chaps or a monkey flinging poo at people, it's not for you. But it's out there. It's funny. I guarantee a laugh. If you don't laugh, let me know.
The monkey with assless chaps.
That's Marco for you.
When I started doing these interviews, I never knew the type of topics that I'd be running. But hey, I think it's awesome. So what inspired you to write this book?
What inspired
How did this book come to be? You know?
Well, I will admit I was a really big fan of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Fantastic, funny book. A little short though. I may offend some people, but I felt like it was a little short on plot. It was just out there, just random. I wanted to write a story with the same level of humor as the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, but with a more solid plot and with more defined limits as to what the characters can do. I wanted it to be realistic. I didn't want there to be magic out there that just happens to save the world at the last second. I wanted it to be more defined. So that was the idea behind it. I will say, and I didn't mention this earlier, but Black Swan part of this, Black Swan Planet, if you're familiar with, lost my train of thought, theories about, I just totally lost my train of thought. There are theories that a black swan event could happen and that people would never see it coming. And a black swan event is something that's described as, let's say meteor falls on the Emperor and kills him. No one would ever expect that, and it changes everything. Those black swan events have been identified, and that's the idea behind Black Swan Planet, that Earth is going to become this black swan event for the Empire. So that makes any sense.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I kind of went out there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So with that book,
Yeah.
that book cover is rather interesting.
Yeah.
Can you hold it up, hold it still like this? There you go. And so the monkey's name is Marco.
That is Marco.
He's a cigar smoking cool chimp, right? That's Marco. That's Marco.
Yeah.
And so how did this book cover come about? Because it's why those colors? Why Marco on there?
Well, that's a good question. I was working with my publisher. I am what's called hybrid publishing. I have a publisher that has, and are you familiar with hybrid publishing? Are you familiar with that? Okay.
No, tell me more.
Okay. There are a couple different worlds out there in publishing. There is traditional publishing, and then there is self-publishing. What I've done is the middle ground. I have connected with another person that is really good at publishing books and really good at doing the covers and doing the editing. And then we're working together to publish this. So instead of going directly out there by myself, I worked with a good friend that did this. He acts as my publisher, he acts as my editor, and he acts as my cover designer. And we worked together because we wanted to find an image that had the flavor of the book, that showed that there was a funny book, that it was not to be taken seriously, and not your typical, sci-fi story that's real deep and dark and you know, just not happy. It's a fun book. Okay, so that's how we picked that.
You know what the cover makes me think a little bit?
What's that?
Curious George grows up.
Curious George, yeah. I will tell you, in the next book, because I'm writing a sequel, he gets referred to as Furious George a couple times. Yeah, Furious George, yeah. But there's a sequel. This is going to be a trilogy. Actually, this is going to be a trilogy. Right now, I'm writing the sequel. I'm about 60% done with the sequel, and that is called Black Swan Antithesis. That is hopefully going to be released this year. That's my plan, probably around November. Then there's going to be a third book, and that book is tentatively called Black Swan Empire, and that should be out next year, is my hope.
Nice. So that's about 2 to 3 books a year. Right?
Yeah. Once I really got on it, then it flows.
Yeah.
It's that initial startup that takes a long time.
I bet the planning and the thinking of how you want it to be. Awesome. Yeah. So we have some people with us watching.
Awesome.
And John Boltman, he says it's an interesting story, and he says he likes the cover. But then he said Hunter S. Thompson meets Planet of the Apes.
To a certain extent, yeah.
Then he said, who's the dealer with the yellow hat?
The dealer with the yellow hat. Like the man with the yellow hat, yeah. That's an interesting discussion, yeah. But there was a guy named Nikolai in the book that's the drug dealer, but I never described him as having a yellow hat. Maybe I should have.
in the rewrite, right?
Yeah,
years from now, are the when people take one book and then they make multiple books off of the original book, like that one lady I interviewed, like Pride and Prejudice. Okay, so yeah, I also heard that you were in a few anthologies. Can you share that with us?
Absolutely. I have been in. I'll show you 2 anthologies. Endless Worlds, Volume 1. You can see that. Get real close. Endless Worlds, Volume 1. In this book, I wrote a short story. My short story in this book was called Carbon to Carbon. And that story follows I would say almost an anti-hero. It's a person named Aegis. And if I can find the picture here real quick. Here he is. This handsome-looking fellow is a drawing of Aegis. Can you see that okay?
Yeah.
He's kind of a cyborg.
I was about to say, it's like Star Trek, half boy.
Yeah, he's kind of a cyborg guy. That story, I wrote it with the intent originally of being testosterone-driven sci-fi. I wanted it to be really hard-hitting, just hit from the first words on the page, have that action and testosterone going. I got there mostly, but I will say my sense of humor also comes to play because I can't write a story without it having some humor. So there are a few lines in there that people tell me are just make them crack up. So that's Aegis. Aegis was the idea behind that. He was a character that I wanted the reader to basically hate for the first third of the story. I wanted them to think, oh, I hate this guy. And then as his backstory starts coming out and there's more and more detail to it, it's like, okay, wait a minute. He used to be an okay guy. He went through a lot. And then as it goes further, there's a sense of redemption at the end. So at the end, you're like, okay, you know what? I hated Aegis to begin with, but he's okay at the end. He's not perfect, but he's okay. Okay.
I can think of a few stories like that. Then at the end, they kill him off, and you're like, but he was really good. He wasn't a bad guy.
Yeah, don't kill Aegis. Yeah. Another book an anthology I was in was Endless Worlds, same publisher, Volume 2, but this was a collection of dark fairy tales. And I wrote a story for it. My story for it was called The Liar's Tale. The Liar's Tale. And I wrote that story we were supposed to write stories based upon fairy tales, and I wanted to tell a fairy tale in the time of fairy tales. Okay, so I had a bard telling this story, a traveling bard telling this story, and the idea behind it was it didn't happen a long, long time ago. It happened a week ago Tuesday, and he's telling the story about all these things that happened. So that was a fun story. I had a blast with it. I would say mine was probably the lightest of the dark humor, or the dark fairy tales in here. Mine's more of a Shrek type story than some of the really dark, deep, depressing stories in here. But they're all very good. But mine's probably the funniest one.
Awesomeness. So yeah, for as an author,
Uh-huh.
like you are those only books that you have published thus far?
Those are the only ones published so far. I've got another short story that's been accepted. It hasn't been published yet. And I've got a couple other items in the works, a couple other projects in the works. Can't really talk a whole lot about them yet because they're still in the processing side of it, but they'll be out soon. More
Nice.
coming soon. Yeah.
And thanks, John. Oh, John's saying he gotta go meet for dinner. He said he really liked those illustrations.
Okay.
Does James own those? Do you own your illustrations free and clear?
We do. The publisher that did this, they bought them free and clear. Paid for them up front. Got it. They can use them for whatever they want to.
Beautiful.
Mhm.
Beautiful. All right. So when as an author, do you find writing exciting or
Oh, yeah.
exhausting?
Oh, it's
Yeah,
absolutely
I knew you was gonna say exciting.
exciting. As an author, I think most authors are somewhat loners. I know that I am. I tend to be a loner. I tend to gather a lot of information when I'm with people. Like if I'm in a big crowd, I'll be watching all the people in the crowd, and I'll start creating these little backstories for each of them myself, in
Oh,
my
wow.
head. And then a lot of times I can't wait to get home and write that out. And I assume that what I write out is a lot more exciting than their lives were originally. But maybe not, maybe not. But I love it. I'm excited when I write. There are times where I wake up in the middle of the night, gotta scribble something down. There were several scenes in Back to Black Swan Planet where I dreamt complete conversations. I would go to bed thinking about something, dream an entire conversation, wake up at 3 a.m. and scribble it down real quick so that I didn't lose it. So that when we came to it, it would be there.
So would you say that your characters talk to you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And 2 out of the 3 voices in my head say that's normal. Yeah.
That's normal. It's normal. Don't worry about it. That's interesting. So then, with these books, do you have any advice or tips for other authors on marketing the books, on how to get started on marketing?
Yeah, marketing is tough. One of the things that I did, and I'm learning this as I go, I knew that it'd be very tough to sell my novel if it were the only thing out there with my name on it. So that's one of the reasons I decided to do the anthologies, was I wanted to get my name out there so that if someone, pulled up Black Swan Planet on Google or on Amazon, they would see other works written by me as well.
Right.
Because who wants to read someone's first work? Seriously, I've written, this is not my first novel. I've written another one years ago, and it's no longer available because it just wasn't edited. It wasn't to the quality that it needs to be. I may go back and visit it again sometime. But I would say, marketing-wise, it's a good idea to get your name out there, whether it's in anthologies, whether you give away a short story, whether you do something just to get something out there, get your name out there. Figure out ways to engage with your readers, whether that's through Facebook communication like we're doing now. I've done Ask Me Anythings on Reddit. whatever you can do to engage with your readers, make sure that they know you're available to talk to them. And then it's grinding. You just have to keep grinding. And I think that it's easier to sell the 20th copy than it is the first copy. And it's easier to sell the 30th copy than it was the 20th. And
Right.
the more you go out there and you push it and you keep talking about it and you get people to review it, the better it's gonna sell.
So you think it's hard to get those first few books pushed out before
Absolutely.
they actually start taking off?
Yeah,
So-
absolutely.
In your process, do you have a website and a sales funnel, or how do you do your process for your book?
Well, what I've got right now so far is I have my Facebook page, and that Facebook page is Black Swan Planet. You can just Google it. It'll pop up with a Facebook link, or it'll also pop up with the link to Amazon where you can buy it. Gotten quite a few followers on that. Also, I've got a Goodreads page. I've got a page on BookBub, and of course, my author's page on Amazon. Between those, I'll get some good following. I have not jumped on the Twitter bandwagon. I just don't have enough to say regularly that's in that many characters to tweet a lot. I'd figure the information I put out there, it fits better on Facebook for me.
Right. Well, the Twitter is great for getting it established with other writers and media publishers, all those different places. But I really don't see too many readers getting on there and actually using Twitter like they used to.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, I feel like the majority, is either on LinkedIn or Facebook at the moment, and possibly Instagram for the younger generation. I'm starting to feel like Instagram is more for teenagers. But
I do have an Instagram presence. Don't do a lot out there, but I put pictures. I put covers out there. Do a little bit here and there.
yeah, it's hit or miss.
Yeah.
So my next question. So you guys, he made me go with no questions today. He said, ask me anything.
We're winging it. We're winging it.
We're winging it completely. So yeah, you know what I want to know?
Yeah.
From a personal perspective.
Yeah.
Are you Star Trek or Star Wars?
Ooh, I'd have to say Star Trek.
Yay! If you want to say Star Wars, the conversation would have ended. I'm going to tell you. It would have been interview later, done for. Yeah. So, who's your favorite character?
Oh, in Star Trek.
Which show and what character?
Okay. Well, you can't. You've got to expect the original, and you've got to expect James Kirk. Okay. James Kirk, he was always flying with the green chick. He was always doing things. He was out there. He wore a girdle, but that's okay. I'm okay with that. If it were comparing the other one, I really wasn't a big fan of Voyager. Did like the Next Generation. Next Generation, Riker was kind of cool once he grew a beard.
Real Riker with a beard? With a beard?
Yeah, with a beard, yeah.
Okay, I'll accept that. The Next Generation was my favorite. But after that, I had become Voyager. But my ultimate favorite character is Captain Picard. He was my boyfriend. He was always down on him, and he was going to be super, he was going to be,
Claim Jar Jar Binks is my favorite. You would have cut me off right then.
No, it would have been done. Conversation over. So yeah, nice. It's awesome that you're a Trekkie like me.
Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta do the Vulcan.
Live long and prosper. Yeah.
Live long and prosper. All right.
Now, if we want to talk about my overall most favorite series ever, we would talk about Farscape.
Farscape?
Farscape. Yeah.
What about Farscape? I've heard of it. I haven't seen it yet.
Okay. I think it's on Netflix. If you get a chance, watch it. It is out there. It's space opera at its finest. It takes about 3 or 4 episodes for it to find its legs. So once it does, you'll be hooked.
I'll be on what is it called? Binge watching Netflix.
Netflix bender, yeah.
I'm going on Netflix bender. I'm put that on my list. Go check out Farscape.
Check it out.
All right. So then, as an author, what is your stance on having a support? Like, does your family support you, or do you write it out all by yourself, or how does that work for you? Do you have support?
I do have support. First thing, I am very blessed. My wife is very supportive of my writing career. She understands that I've got these stories in my head and I've got to write them, and it's going to happen. Secondly, I have, I would say it's more virtually. I've surrounded myself with that virtually, through Facebook and through other writing groups and such that support me. And if I need help, if I'm having trouble with just finding my voice, they're very good about helping.
Yeah, that's awesome. I like how Facebook does, all these different communities that we can get into so easy and find people to help, Yeah. I think we have a little lag. But yeah, so how important would you say having a support system or, people to support you is with being an author? Is it super important or...
It's absolutely important. If you don't get any, at least myself, if I don't get any positive feedback, if I don't get any support, it's hard to find motivation to continue writing. But when you get that, I've put thousands and thousands of hours on Amazon and it comes back and it cracked me up.
Mm-hmm.
That is important. I think we're having a little bit of audio.
Yeah, you're fading in and out. Go ahead.
Sorry.
Because sometimes we'll fade out in and out here, but when we go watch Storyteller, we won't have any issues. So it's bad. Yeah.
Technology issues.
Yeah. So then, how many words do you write a day?
Many words. It varies. On a good day, I may write 3,000 words. Okay, which is a lot. I mean, that's sitting down and writing quite a bit. Then what usually happens is the next day I'll write about 1,000 or 700 and not too much. I really try to write 7,000 a week.
Yeah. So 1,000 a week.
Yeah, about 5,000, 7,000 a week. Yeah.
Yeah. So is that about how many words goes into words go into one of your books? So I'm trying to see like how much workload you're actually doing.
This was about 100,000 words.
Okay.
About
So how many days did it take you to write it?
Oh, well, the first one, it took about 2 years to write it. But I was not as dedicated to it as I am now writing the sequel. The sequel, I have been working on it since about November, and I've got 60,000 words written.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so in about 4 months, I've written 60,000 words. My hope is within about another 2 months, I'll be close to being done with it. Have about the 100,000 words done, and then I can start getting editors looking at it.
Nice. So, would you highly recommend that authors outsource an editor to have the books reviewed, or how important do you think having an editor is?
Oh, you gotta have an editor. An editor is critical. There is no way I can find my own mistakes. When I go through this, I read it, and I know what I meant to say. So I read over mistakes, and I never catch them. You've got to have an editor. The editor needs to be your friend. He also needs sharp enough to tell you when you made a mistake. Okay?
Right.
Too many times, people are afraid. They want to, make a soft statement. Say, well, maybe it'd be better to do this. Well, editor, tell me. You said this wrong. You use this word twice in the same thing. You did this. Don't push your foot around. Tell me, because I want it to be right.
Right. And I feel that it's really imperative that the quality be in the book, because when you start reading a book and coming across a lot of errors or things that are concise, it's hard to read. It's very hard to read.
Yeah.
So
It doesn't matter. You can get 6 editors looking at a book, and there's still going to be a mistake in it. I guarantee
right.
it. I have found mistakes in books that, Stephen King's written, you find a spelling error. Okay? Those things happen. The biggest thing you can try to do as an author these days is to make it as good as you can, make it, as perfect as possible. I think people understand that you're going to find 2 or 3 mistakes in a book. That's going to happen. With digital publishing these days, though, once those are brought to my attention, I can state it, and it can be ready for the next edition pretty quickly. So we do things like that we fix on the fly.
Yeah, that's nice, though. It makes it simpler, because you just upload the book and keep it trucking.
Yeah. It's a battle. It's a battle. And at some point you say, okay, I'm tired of dealing with that book. I'm on to the next, 2 books later. Let's move on, But you still have to finish, fix those things that crop up.
Right. Cool. So yeah, with your next book, right, which is you said it's coming out when?
The date's not locked in yet. I'm hoping for November this year.
November this year.
Yeah, 18.
2018. With that book, how are you starting? Is your process different in writing this next book than your book from before? Is it a different process?
Actually, not a whole lot. The advantage I had is I already had my main characters developed. So I could jump into it a little bit quicker because I already knew my main 3 characters. I knew all about it. In the first book, I had to develop those characters, write them, go back and make some fixes because, okay, things change, as you're developing the character. Now I know them well enough. So that makes it a little quicker.
Right. Okay. So then, upon developing on the new characters, is it going to be more of the main character, or is there going to be more new characters coming in? Or is it just, are you working?
Oh, I'm sorry.
There's no characters?
Up here, yeah. There's no characters. It's going to focus on the main 3, and that is Marco, the monkey, the chimpanzee, Raka, and Maven. Those are the main 3 characters, but then I introduced several new characters, and in fact, the way it starts is just Raka and a new character for the first few chapters, until he can meet back up with everybody else.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay. So then, as an author who is a hybrid author at that, which route would you highly recommend somebody go that is low on a budget? Would you say that doing a hybrid route would probably be better than doing a self-publishing route? Or whatever, a traditional, I see you didn't like opt in all the way traditional, but what would you suggest?
Well, the advantages that I saw of the hybrid is I could bring in people that were willing to go into this with me kind of as a partnership, essentially. They can bring their skills to the table as editors, as designers, as helping me get this book published, because I didn't know the details of how to make that happen. They can do that, help me make that happen. I did not pay anything to have this done. The way this works, the way we're doing it, is the editor or the publisher, they make their money when I make sales. We split the profits on it.
Oh.
Together. Okay. So in that sense, there's no money out of pocket for me. Okay. If you're doing complete self-publish, you're putting money out of pocket, as far as maybe paying an editor, maybe paying a designer for the cover, all those things. Now, I've done some things marketing-wise that I paid for, but that's minor. Some Facebook ads.
So the expenses weren't that much, but you don't get as much in the commission off the book, right?
Right. We split the profit.
And I think that's actually a really smart idea, especially for a new author who doesn't have the income, if they can find somebody to hybrid publish with them, because that would give a lot of opportunities, for really great authors to get out there,
Yeah.
So.
If a traditional publisher came to me and said, "Hey, Jim, we'd like you to publish with us," they could buy me. Hi, Penguin. Hi, Random House. Yeah, I'm here. Find me. But the odds of that happening, sell hundreds of thousands of these books, is slim. Once I sell 100,000, they may be interested.
Right. So, do you think that your books would be picked up by the media, with them being comedic and all that?
I do think there's a big market for it. I have always defined especially for this book, my market as immature adults. I think 99% of the people I meet are immature adults, and they would love the humor in this. There's going to be a few people who will be offended. I know there will be, but I think that's fine. That can happen. There's probably going to be somebody buys it thinking it's a cute monkey on the cover and thinks it's a kid's book. They'll be offended. Okay. Well, that's okay. It's not a kid's book. They'll find that out in the first page.
So your book needs to be on Comedy Central, ultimately.
Our Marvel wanted to call and say, hey, Jim, let's make this into the next big Marvel movie. Be all right.
I can see that happening. We're going to be watching Marco. There's going to be a TV series. Because I feel like a lot of the new, I feel like a lot of big networks are starting to sway away from doing movies and trying to put more money into doing TV series, because they're getting more in return for a TV series, because people have been watching them, people are getting obsessed with TV series, because movie is great, but it's only for so long, but if you get on a TV series, you have so much more, and that they're able to make way more money in the long term off the sales of box sets, off the sale of, to Netflix or whoever, you know what I mean? So, I think that's where movies are going.
Yeah. Netflix or HBO. If we do HBO, we could really do the party at the beginning, because HBO's not afraid to do that type of a party. Netflix might tone it down just a little bit, but, we can do that.
So have you considered getting these books in front of them at all?
You broke up there. I didn't.
Have you considered getting your books in front of Netflix or in front of HBO?
have not yet. I don't really know the procedure that I have to go through to do that. I am in the process right now of having an Audible book for it. So they're recording this on Audible. It will be available. Going through the approval right now for that. So probably in about 3 weeks it'll be out. So if people like to listen to books, they can do that. Would love to get it in front of Netflix or HBO. I just don't know how to do that at this point. But they can call me. Put it across the bottom. You can just email me.
Thank you for that number.
Hey, Netflix, yeah.
No, so for everybody who does watch the whole video, y'all about to get a good nugget. But my similar strategy for getting in front of Netflix is by going through LinkedIn. Because LinkedIn is like business to business, and you have an opportunity to target, people within Netflix. For free, you can connect with a writer who is in Netflix, or connect with somebody, that in those departments. If you connect with them, you can make friends, and eventually say, well, I have this book that, and you know what I'm saying? And have a connection with them one way or another that's different than just saying, hey, Netflix, you know what I'm saying? Or if you go to the media, the people who are in the media through LinkedIn, and, tell them about your unique stories and how they work and stuff like that, don't you think that they might have to listen for 2 or 3 minutes and consider the possibilities? And if you link with them and build a relationship,
Yeah, sounds good. If anybody from HBO or Netflix is watching, contact me. Please.
So my thing is that you gotta, think of a different strategy that is outside of the box to get with them, because you know how many applications or books or whatever they have in front of them, and 9 times out of 10, they're gonna pick the story or the book that somebody, is at a cocktail party and they're discussing. You know what I mean? And that's your process. I'll make a movie with that one. And, as I say, it's all about building a relationship and connecting with them and being unique, thinking outside the box and how you can get your foot in the door. You know what I mean?
Foot in the door, yep. Get foot in the door. That's the key.
that was going to be. We've implemented a lot of different LinkedIn lead generation strategies for business to business, and I've noticed that they're actually working when you're contacting these people. Like they're like, oh yeah, hello, you know what I mean? And it's like more friendly than trying to message a higher up on Facebook. You know what I mean? So, just an idea.
Idea.
Yeah. Just an idea. So my next thing I was gonna ask you, so we got a few more minutes and then it's over. My Trekkie friend. What is to come from you in the next 5 years?
What's coming from me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Right now, I'm working on a sequel to Black Swan Planet. Working on the 2 sequels to that. I'm also in development of a major space opera storyline. And I can't give you a whole lot of details of it, but it's going to be cool. It's going to be really cool. Mentioned Farscape earlier. It's going to play along that idea of the fish out of water, a human character that gets thrown into an alien world. He has to figure out how to. Okay. Like I said, I don't want to get into the details of that, but I am working on it. I've talked to a publisher. It's a hybrid publisher as well. They're very interested in that series. They want to talk to me about more. I'm hoping that I'd be able to slip this in the next 6 months or so and write the first book in that too, in that series.
Nice.
If that happens, I plan on that, write an entire series, like a decology, 10 books or so, and maybe do it almost like it's an episode, like a series for Netflix or HBO, as we said. Each story could be, considered its own episode.
I see this happening. Watch, we're going to come back, and we're going to remember this interview. I don't know from the first interview, but I'm going to remember you, and be like, I interviewed him, and he was on my show, and I'm going to sell tons of this, because everybody's going to be like, hey, James Peters, we got to collect. I'm like, yeah, I got the thing that we put on the social media.
There you go, yeah. I'll remember you, I will.
I interviewed James Peters, and the Black Swan Planet.
Black Swan Planet.
Was number one. I'm saying it now. It's coming up. All right. Well, James, I keep calling you Jim. Why is it Jim?
I go by either.
I appreciate you for coming on and signing up to be one of my 100 authors, and this was great. And it's even awesomer that you're a Trekkie. And I'm happy that we get to do this off the fly, because it's giving me a chance to see how much I've grown as an interviewer. So thank you for pushing me into luck.
In Farscape terms, well, yeah.
All right, you guys. You all have a lovely evening. Yeah.
Later.
Hashtag support your author by leaving reviews. You can visit this author's book at the link above. Make sure to subscribe and ring the bell to receive our notifications.